Hi guys, we're going to make, well, this is a little video to go along with the recipe, which is cheese and onion pastries. So we're going to be making a short crust pastry, I'll get onto that in a minute, and a filling which is potatoes, cheese, onion and some herbs and a little bit of mustard. So what we've got here is some cold mashed potato. So boiled it, mashed it, let it cool a little while. I've got 100 grams of grated cheese, and I've got some freshly chopped chives here. Now you could have dried herbs, dried mixed herbs, dried thyme, fresh thyme. What else would go nice? Finely chopped parsley, maybe something like that. It's up to you. So I'm going to put that in with my potatoes. I'm going to put a little bit of mustard in there as well. The recipe, I think the recipe says 1.25 mils. Maybe you don't have a measuring spoon like that at home, so just a small amount on a teaspoon is fine. You don't have to put mustard in, it brings out the cheesy flavour. You can use whole grain mustard, French mustard, any kind of mustard would work if you're using it. Also, we're going to put some onion. Now we're going to fry off this onion. So I peeled it. I just have red onion in the fridge, but you can use white onion. And I've peeled it, I've left the hairy root end on because that's what holds it together. And we're going to make a claw and slice it as thinly as you can across the way. Okay. Once you've sliced your onion, you're going to fry this off. I've got butter melted and sizzling. Let that fry just now while we look at the pastry. So pastry here, we're going to make some short crust pastry. You can make sweet short crust pastry for tarts and things. You would put a bit of sugar in them, and for savoury short crust pastry we just have flour and butter, and we'll just add a little bit of water to it when we're ready. It's always twice as much flour to fat. So in here we've got 100 grams of plain flour and 50 grams of butter. It's important to make sure that the butter is nice and cold, so straight out the fridge if you can. This quantity is usually what we do in school, so 100 grams of flour, 50 grams of butter, and that will make like a small quiche, which would do 4 people. It would make, as I said, we can make it sweet. It would do like a Bakewell tart. Again, you would get 4 portions out of it. So generally these quantities would do sort of 4 small portions. Bear that in mind, because those of you doing the bakery course will have a question about the proportion of fat to flour and the quantities that it makes. So I'm rubbing it in like this with my fingers. Should have said that. Rub it in, rubbing the butter through the flour until there's no big lumps of butter left. When you think it's ready, give the bowl a little sugar like that, and any big lumps of butter will come up to the surface. I think it's done. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hands a little bit, get this off, and then we'll add water. Right, we're going to add water to the pastry now. I've got some water in a glass or a cup or something like that. Nice cold water, as cold as it'll come out the tap. And we're going to be adding in a spoon at a time. So I've got my measuring spoon here. I'll just add a tablespoon at a time and stir it together with a knife. It's best, sometimes it's tempting just to pour it in, but you might end up adding too much and it'll be too sticky. Another tablespoon. It should just be enough. So although that looks quite dry still, when I press it with my fingers it does actually stick together. So that was only 2 tablespoons of water I put in there. And now it should be able to gather it all together. Knead it with my hand a little bit. It should all come together nice and clean out the bowl. Now it's a bit like, I mean it's the opposite to making bread, if you've made bread or pizza dough or anything like that where we have to knead it. This actually we don't want to knead too much because it will make it too dry and crumbly. So I just lightly knead it, just to kind of get rid of, just to make it a little bit smoother and get rid of any cracks, okay? And then shape it into a bit of a disc because that'll help when we're rolling it out. And ideally we're going to chill this for a little while, so I would just put it in a bit of cling film or a little bag or something, put it in the fridge while you continue making your filling. My onions are just frying nicely there in the background. It will work better if you chill it first. Okay, onions are fried. Normally in class we would be trying not to put any colour on them, but for that recipe specifically it says to let them fry until they're starting to caramelise, so they're slightly golden brown, not black, but they are caramelised a little bit. So we're going to mix that in with the potato and cheese mixture. There we go. Mix this round. Good mix in. To roll out the pastry, so we're going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on the surface, not too much or it'll dry out the pastry, and a little bit on top. If you don't have a flour bread tray, you can just sprinkle some on a spoon or your hands or something. Okay, so for rolling out, what happens in class sometimes is people push too hard down on the surface and it just mushes into the work surface. So just lightly roll it up and down a couple of times, just really the weight of the rolling pin. Turn it 90 degrees and roll it that way. Going. We're just looking for a thickness of about, well, the recipe says 3 millimeters. So it's fairly thin, but not so thin that we have to worry about getting holes in it. So that kind of size would be fine. And we're going to get a large cutter. Now you decide which one. You don't have to use a cutter. You could use a large pint glass or something if you don't have a cutter. Just anything you can cut circles out of, like that. We're making this cheese and onion filling, but you could change it to anything. You could, if you had cooked chicken, you could make a little chicken and chorizo filling. Just mix cooked chicken, maybe some cheese and chorizo together. You could, I don't know what else you could do. Little vegetable samosas, make a little curried vegetable mixture, something like that. And it's just like a nice little snack or starter kind of. So I'm just re-rolling the rest of that bit. Try not to worry too much about the pastry. You know, if there are cracks and you feel it's getting kind of dry and it's cracking, try not to, just try and go with it and don't keep re-rolling it, because the more you work with it, the more dry it's going to get and the more it's going to crack. That's not very neat, but it'll be okay when I fold it over. So it looks like I'm going to get 7 out of that mixture, depending on the size of your cutter. I'm kind of making this recipe just to check the quantities, so I may decide after doing this to either double the quantities of pastry or half the amount of filling, because it looks like an awful lot of filling there compared to the amount of pastry. Now to fill, we're just going to put in a small amount in each one, not too much because we're going to be folding them in half. Just a small amount like that. I'll do a couple and show you. and then do the rest. Brush a little bit of milk just around the edge here. You could use water, it's just to make it stick together, or you could use egg. So normally with pastry we glaze it with egg or milk to give it a nice glossy finish. So you might want to use an egg to do that. Now we're going to fold this pastry over. Might need to stretch it just a little bit so that we've got a little half circle. And you can either just press it together with your fingers, you can pinch a nice pattern, or you can use a fork just to push the edges together like that. Okay, and brush a little bit of milk or egg over the top for a glaze. The egg will make it more glossy than milk. I just didn't really want to crack the whole egg to do for glazing, so I'll just go with that. Milk, be okay. Again, push it together. So you can either just leave it like that, you can pinch with your fingers. It's hard to show at that angle. Yeah, with my right hand. Just pinch the edges, so you get quite a nice pattern doing it that way as well. Again, glaze it with some milk. These are going to go into the oven for 15 minutes at 180.